No.
Hello.
I'm having too much fun. What's up?
Hi.
Is it only Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like yesterday was Saturday too for
One more
some
day. Yeah,
reason.
good. Okay. What's up?
We were just kind of going like back and forth. Like we talk through things a lot, but like for like our concept is social selling, and so we're having a little issue, I think, or not even issue, but like we're talking through like the definition of like social selling and what that means to us and or like in general, and then like how and like our company and then our target segment. So we're kind of just wanted to walk that conversation through with you.
Mm-hmm.
So we chose, so like first our definition of social selling is like the salesperson of a brand is targeting specific, like in our case, so our company is Adobe and like we're focusing on, let's say, like content creators. And so Adobe would be targeting content creators and reaching out and trying to build that one-on-one relationship with them and maybe ask them like, hey, like we see that you're using our services and our products, like is there anything that we can help you with or like improve on that? And like our take from social selling is that main relationship building aspect. Are we
Okay, so how is that different from personal selling where a salesperson reaches out to the content creator and say, hey, how can I help you? How can I, right? So what is the difference between personal selling and social selling in that definition?
are they trying to like sell their brand and product and services also at like while maintaining that relationship?
But
But
that's
Jose,
any.
I was thinking, sorry, I was
Go ahead.
thinking more along the route of social selling being establishing that relationship or establishing that value of the brand and adding that person who they're pitching to in their contact list, like making that relationship trustworthy and having them like, obviously communicating with them via comments, LinkedIn comments or liking, like just having social interactions to build that relationship with the end goal in the end being like selling it, but just to start slowly on social media platforms.
So you're starting to get to the definition now, Javeria. So for example, we have a former IMER from 2017, um, Bianca Perry, and she works at Headspace. Headspace, the meditation app, right? And her responsibility is to get Headspace adopted by businesses. So classic B2B sales. And she could literally be, picking up the phone and calling companies and trying to work her way to, like, at Barilla, working your way up to culinary directors or purchasing managers. So here, working their way up to wellness managers of the company or HR managers of the company, saying, we have this incredible business solution for you where if you buy the Headspace app, you get all these benefits, your employees get better, all that good stuff. She could do it through inside sales, or she could set up appointments and go face to face and have conversations with them or Zoom calls or whatever the case might be. The previous two are both, the first is inside sales one-on-one, and the second one is face-to-face personal selling, where either on Zoom or face-to-face, I'm going to go sell. But the strategy Bianca is using is every so and so, and you can follow her. She's on the IME group, but she also posts quite often on LinkedIn. But she just essentially posts content about, the benefits of meditation, just the ability to stay in the moment, how things, how staying in the moment and meditating overall reduces blood pressure, improves productivity. So she's just posting this content on LinkedIn, and she gets like many, many, many views. And so amongst the views, and I see you, Vlada, once again, amongst the views, you start to see that, our HR managers are, so she's being very strategic about the content she's posting, but her goal is not that any one content post is going to lead to a sale. She's establishing value by posting content. So it's like me posting content about the IME program and what our students are doing in general out there, and then suddenly out of the blue, maybe 3 months later, a company reaches out to me and says, hey, you guys do this IME stuff. can we become your client? So I've sold by adding value on a social platform, and that value is targeted towards certain people, but the intention is never to close a sale with that value. It's just to be of value using social platforms, and that gets me viewership and builds my awareness, the top of the funnel. People get aware of me, and then that brings them to my web page or brings them to my LinkedIn page, and then they reach out. So it's like it's inbound marketing by creating content that way, right? So, and it's leveraging social platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna ask. Like we found out that it's very similar to inbound marketing, but then how would it be different? Or like, is that something that we should mention in our presentation, that they're similar things?
Yeah, but inbound marketing could be done by marketers, right? It could be done by you writing about brand benefits, you writing stuff. It could be done through SEO. You just show up in searches because your content is so tagged with keywords and things like that that people click and come to your website. So inbound marketing is bringing people to your property, to your website. Social selling aids in inbound marketing, but social selling has a much more direct motivation, is that once you see my content, you might reach out to me yourself. And so I don't have to spend my money reaching out to you. I'm just posting to the universe, and the universe reaches out to me and basically buys from me. Yeah.
So
They're very linked.
is it that you don't have like, you're not going after like a specific person, you're just kind of putting yourself out there and then hoping that someone reaches out to you or reaches back out to you?
Yes, but you're also, Josh, it's not just, I'm just randomly posting any stuff to anybody, right? So I'm being strategic. I'm talking about the value my company adds without necessarily mentioning my company name. I'm mentioning the benefits of using the product that my company offers. I might not even say the IME program. I'll just say, look, if you have classes with life projects, those classes with life projects help students develop confidence, help students adapt to any situation. And just so happens that somebody reaches out and say, hey, Zafar, you keep talking about these projects that, benefits of those. Do your students also do those? And without even basically doing anything, a company has reached out to me and I have a potential client for IME.
Okay.
It's that kind of
But
approach.
using like stuff that your company would do, but not necessarily like specifically mentioning that is what you're saying. Like
You could mention it, but unlike you could mention it, but the focus is on creating. What we call is like you're giving value on that platform, and the value is based on your jobs to be done. It's not based on my products and services. So I'm not saying IME is awesome. You must come and buy IME. You must come and use IME services. I'm saying class-based projects that help companies really add value. It's a win-win-win. The professor benefits because he feels very happy at the end of the quarter. The students benefit because they've got these live projects. Companies benefit because they get the benefit of an agency without incurring the costs of an agency, right? So I'm planting a seed of what the value of what I'm offering is, but I'm not saying IME. I might at the bottom say, oh, by the way, if you're interested in the kind of things we're talking about, IME is a great thing for you. I might say that in passing. It's not front and center of what I'm doing.
Yeah, I had a question. So like for this particular presentation, can we use a similar analogy like we did with Xfinity, where we like say that there are two specific scenarios, and in this scenario, using social selling is a good option, and in another one, it wouldn't be, like potentially using the same company? Or should we look at it from like an angle that, like, let's say this company used social selling and they posted a lot of content, and that's how they built like those great relationships, and in this situation, they were like, I don't know, like said something stupid or pushed away their like content creators or something like that. Does
or
it
like based on that, another question adding on to that, or is it like based on what they're putting out there, like it may not be perceived as well to the like people or whatever?
So Vlada is talking about the choice of social selling in a particular context. Is the choice correct or not? Nandini, what you're talking is the execution correct or not, right? So both of us can adopt social selling, but you do a phenomenal job, Nandini, of adding value. Like and somewhere in there, your company name shows up. And me, I've learned about social selling, and all I do is just broadcast my company day in, day out. So I'm nothing but a...
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, I am screwing up the execution, Nandini. You're doing it really well, but both of us chose social selling. And Vlada's point is, Nandini, you choose social selling, you execute it phenomenally well, and this other company could have benefited by choosing social selling, but they chose not to. And either one's fine.
Okay.
But typically, if I know Rich and I know my own mind in those meetings, I look for both companies doing it, and it works out in one situation. One company does it better than the other, basically.
Like the execution portion of it.
It could be the execution, but it could also be that maybe both companies chose it, but the execution is the obvious one, Nandi. Like is easy. I think it's the easier one to go through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about the execution. But in some cases, to Vlada's point, it could be you really chose incorrectly. Like maybe you needed to meet your quota. Maybe your company was really suffering. You needed to do something about a competitor attacking you, your position, and you needed to sell to this particular company. Social selling was the wrong choice because social selling typically has a long lead time. You probably need to pick up the damn phone and talk to this company day in, day out and say, you really need to buy from us. The personal selling may have been a better option there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more question. So, like, we wanted to use content creators as our target market, and we know how they could be seen as a consumer and not a customer. So, could we say something like content creators who have their own businesses and like are using Adobe or something like that?
So I want you to push it a little bit more because I really want the class to push it a little bit more. I want you to target a company who has a creative staff. So imagine the marketing communication team at a particular company. And so think about, so for example, DePaul University has a very large, we are the academic marketing department, but DePaul University has a university marketing department. All the ads, everything that you see, right? All the social media stuff, all that they manage. And they've got phenomenal creators, graphic designers, all those things, right? So within that team, you could look at, it's the CMO and her team of content creators is who you're targeting. And that would just take your presentation up a level because you're suddenly thinking about a buying group within a business. That's much better than I'm a content creator who you just like, I'm a consumer on steroids because I just have my own little consulting practice. You're calling me a business. And that's been the trap everybody falls into. But think about Barilla, right? They're not going to sell into like a single owned, somebody who's cooking out of their home. They're not selling just because I sell my food to 10 other people. I'm a small business. They're selling to large businesses basically, right? So I would like you to think that way too.
I have a follow-up to that. I don't know if you guys talked about it already. So we were talking about that and whether it be CMO, COO, whatever, and who to target, and we weren't sure if social selling would be kind of tying into our conversation that we had in our last presentation with you. We didn't know if it would be applicable to somebody in a higher tier of a business. So we weren't sure if social selling would be the right move if you were to target the CMO. I don't know.
So it also depends on where you target, right? So for example, if your platform, your social platform is on LinkedIn, you're choosing LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And on LinkedIn, the kind of content that the salesperson is writing or the sales team is writing about, the content appeals to CMOs. And they're tagging things that are CMO and things like that related, then if I'm a CMO, it'll come across my feed at some point. And you're starting to plant a seed in my mind that okay, so this company does this kind of stuff, right? And at some point, I'll bring it up to my own directors and say, you know what, we're trying to renew our software. Why don't you also look at this particular company right now? Because they post some phenomenal content about they seem to understand what my problems are, basically. They understand the job I need to get done. It could be CMO, you could go like a vice president of communications, marketing communications. So the vice president of marketing communications, he or she basically, is coming up for software renewal, and they typically buy software once every 2 years, and it's still early in the cycle. We know that they're not going to look at a new purchase for at least a year and a half, but we're just planting the seeds right now by posting appropriate content that comes across their timeline, basically on LinkedIn. And so when the time comes when we approach them, we're not a complete alien. We come with the perception that you understood my problem. Yeah?
So it's like a slow burn. Okay.
It's a slow burn, and you're constantly adding value and by putting good content out there, and that content speaks to a target audience in a way that makes them perceive you as this person gets me and gets my situation. It's very jobs to be done. Like I'm speaking that language, It's not like, hey, buy Adobe, buy Adobe, buy Adobe, you know?
Okay.
So it's just for clarification, it's like social selling is not like going into people's DMs and being like, hey, like I'm noticing like you're using our service, blah blah blah. Like or does that part come after the fact of all the posting and all of that stuff?
So, for example, I'm going to come back to IME and businesses again. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up a lot of examples. So, I'm constantly posting some content. I'm never talking about the IME program. I happen to mention it somewhere in one of the posts or whatever. I'm just talking about the stuff that gets done in the classroom, things like that. And then the comments, somebody says, like, that's how Kashif came to me for Uptalk. He says, this is phenomenal work that, if this is the kind of work that you're doing in the class, I'd love to talk to you. And then I went into his DM at that point. So he read content that I had posted. I had pictures about IME projects and things like that, but couched in a larger post of how gratifying it is as a professor to take students through the whole journey of consulting for a live client, basically, right? So that was the positioning I took. And in the comments, I start to see who's writing, right? And that's a sign of engagement, that engaging with my content. And it turns out Kashif liked what I did. It was literally a matter of a day in which I said, hey, would you like to talk about this? And boom, he called me up. And
Right.
that's how Uptalk came to be. Yeah.
But it's never the first step of you actively going out and
That's personal selling. That's prospecting.
okay.
Right. So that's a very different skill set. So I would think of social. I really, if I had to say, you have an end goal in mind, but you're not in a tearing hurry about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're planting seeds. You're really planting seeds, basically, right? And you're watering them every day, and suddenly somebody shows up, and that. So that's really, I think, that's when you sell by not selling. You sell by basically helping other people, and then people see you as an incredible resource and they come to you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you frame the definition the way you want to frame it and stay within the confines of that definition.
Mm-hmm.
You look up 5 different definitions of social selling, pick one that resonates with you, and within the confines of that, sell us on the definition, and then give us your 2 examples. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah? Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy Saturday, people.
Happy Sunday.
Bye.